When I was inaugurated as mayor, I said the era of small expectations and even smaller ambitions was coming to an end in City Hall. Today's announcement represents that promise made material.
Another notch in the belt of success for Zohran Mamdani. Democrats have allowed the GOP to pretend to be pro-business when really they're pro-oligarchy. So that's why small owners who make up 99% of all the businesses in New York have been getting squeezed. But now mom and pops are finally facing a city government that is extending a helping hand thanks to Zohran.
Now, there are few pleasures quite as simple or satisfying as a chocolate milkshake on a hot day. Yet for thousands of small business owners, behind the simplicity of a sweet treat, complexity often lurks. For too long, restaurant owners and street vendors have been forced to apply for not one, but 2 permits if they want to serve warm food and cold dairy desserts at the same location. Today, my friends, we are lifting the freeze that too many New Yorkers must contend with as we launch Open for Small Businesses. Open, which stands for Overhauling Procedures and Expanding Navigation, is a package of more than 50 reforms that cut red tape, eliminate redundant fees, and streamline the permitting process. In a win for every ice cream lover across New York City, we will work with the state to do away with the frozen dessert permit that requires restaurants to seek out a superfluous second permit for what they're already doing, serving food. No more treatsploitation, as we say. Right now, barbershops need 3 licenses to cut hair. 1 to be a barber, 1 to own the shop, and 1 from the city on top of both. The state of affairs is frankly anti-fade, and we will not stand for it, which is why we will work with the state to streamline these licenses as well. And to the bingo enthusiasts out there, for too long, the potential earnings of a hot street at bingo have been capped by arcane rules that no longer reflect how the game is actually being played. With Open, DCWP will remove unnecessary regulations, including prize limits. These are just a few of the improvements we are proud to announce today as we make it clear we are in the pocket of Big Abuela. Our reforms touch virtually every sector, from bodegas that have to apply for a license to sell identical goods outside versus inside their shop, to the childcare providers who have to navigate 3 different agencies, overlapping processes before they can actually get up and running. Most of all, yes, we can clap for the childcare providers. You know, in this city, when there is something that we see that we want to celebrate, we say that it's a miracle, that these are miracle workers. We don't want to have to ask people to be miracle workers. We want them to just be able to do what they should have always been able to do, which is work with a city government that's responsive.
This sort of sweeping reform is what the moderate Democrats have always promised but never delivered. We're so used to a toothless government that only serves to put up hurdles that it's honestly shocking to see regulations cut that aren't something like, no dumping chemicals into the water. 50 reforms to slash red tape. How could anybody be upset about that? Zohran is literally taking a shredder to regulations and making the government smaller.
All right, here we go. Everybody in?
He's cutting things like requiring an extra license just to sell food outside of your own shop door, or needing the mayor's approval for opening up a sidewalk patio space. These are the kinds of regulations that just served to stop people from enjoying human-centered spaces. They were designed to be pro-big business, pro-ShopRite, because it reduces foot traffic and sales of small shops and restaurants. But the Republicans never mean slashing these kinds of regulations when they beg for a small government. They're so stupid that they think that Zohran is literally running Cuba.
That's what socialists do. They like violence. That's violence enables them to have more power. And he's running the city like he's running Cuba. And we're going to see the results of that soon.
Moronically, this is the only avenue of critique that the right has at this point. The rhetorical device of saying free everything is stuck on repeat, just bouncing around their empty little brains. They keep talking about him as if he's some sort of anti-Robin Hood, stealing from the poor and giving to the rich.
What is the basis of collectivism? The basis of collectivism is theft. It is taking from others to create equity in the world or in the country. And as I always said, and as President Trump said in that cold open, equity really is just equitable suffering for everybody.
The notion that the conservatives are fiscally responsible is completely dead. Recent polling shows that the Democrats are now considered the economically better party. The only thing that the Republicans really have at this point is crime and immigration, both of which are driven by racism and hatred. That's why they can't talk about the fact that the city has never been safer. When they do, they don't even make any sense.
A lot of the increase in rape also comes from an expanded definition of what counts as rape, as well as survivors coming forward for acts that took place years prior. And we are thankful for them coming forward.
How insensitive is this mayor that he has redefined rape to make it okay for him, clearly not caring even a little about the victims, just so his crime numbers could be good.
They have to make up lies in order to keep up this Red Scare Part 3, actually, as someone pointed out in the comments. That's the only way that they can combat the reality, which is that Mamdani's approval just keeps climbing. Interestingly, it's people approving more and disapproving less, showing that it's not just people who are undecided jumping on board. The doubt is being wiped away by the fact that Zohran is fundamentally redefining what left-wing politics look like.
I think oftentimes the very things that we should care about on the left, we have allowed the right to make their own concerns. Bureaucracy, efficiency, waste. If you care about public goods, public service, these have to be your primary focuses, because any evidence of that inefficiency is then a justification for the elimination of the public sector. And I think similarly, if you think about the language of quality of life, it's often been understood as if it's a conservative concern. But in fact, that's a concern at the bedrock of every working class person's life. They want to have a good quality of life. And these are not things in tension with our principles. In fact, they're the fulfillment of them.
The mainstream media wants you to think that socialism means no money, it means no market and no business. But that's not true. Democratic socialism is about the distribution of profit. So a democratic socialist government works with small business owners because that means that capital is more evenly dispersed instead of concentrated in one conglomerate like Walmart. For years, the government's role has been to squeeze small businesses in order to keep them on the brink of failure. That way, none of them can stick around for long enough to become successful and challenge the power of big business. That is the cycle that Zohran is breaking, and that's why you should support democratic socialists wherever you are. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.